Hi guys. I remember that yesterday we started learning about drawing conclusions. Remember that drawing conclusions is when we are like a detective and we put together clues in the story that the author has given us and we use them to help us figure out something that's going on in the story, right? So our statement is good readers put details or clues together like puzzle pieces to figure out the big picture. And that's what we're going to practice doing today with our text, The Trial of Cardigan Jones. Right? So you've already read through. You should have watched the Zoom video if you missed our Zoom yesterday, or if you were in the Zoom yesterday, you've already read through the story one time. Okay? So today we're going to go back and do a second read, and we're going to go a little bit closer. We're going to look a little bit closer at some of the details that are in the story as we read today. Okay? All right, let's take a look here. The Trial of Cardigan Jones. I'm going to read a few pages with you today, and then you're going to read most of the story on your own today. All right, now I have zoomed in a little bit, so I'm going to have to scroll up and down on my pages to make sure that you could see the words. Here we are on the first page. Our Cardigan walked by Mrs. Brown's house just as she was putting a fresh baked apple pie in her window. Cardigan loved pies. He walked over and smelled the pie. A neighbor next door saw him. Oh, there's the neighbor. A neighbor next door saw him, and a milkman driving by saw him too. Cardigan was new in town, and they weren't sure what he was up to. A moment later, Mrs. Brown came back to the window, and the pie was gone. She was so upset, she called the police. She told them that she'd seen a moose just a few minutes before, so they drove around the block and stopped Cardigan. So we're going to stop right there, and we're going to do this Analyze the Text box. It says, Conclusions. Why did Mrs. Brown call the police and mention seeing a moose? When we answer this question, we have drawn a conclusion to get to the answer. So we're going to practice doing that. We're going to draw a conclusion to get to the answer, and we're also going to look at some of the details that we used to help us get our answer. Right? So I'm going to show you something that you can do when you're using your book. Right? Because you have to use your book on the computer, and then you're also typing on the computer. What I like to do is do a little split screen. So see, I've got lots of tabs open up here. I'm going to click on the tab that has my book open, because remember, it opens in a new tab by itself. I'm going to click on that tab, and when I pull it away, oh, look how I can move it. Okay, I'm going to pull it all the way to one side of my screen, and then it's going to let me pick something to go to the other side of my screen, right? And actually, I think it made it full size. And on the other side of my screen, I'm going to have the activity that we're doing in Google Classroom. Okay. I'm going to zoom into it some. So here's the activity that we're doing in Google Classroom. And on the left, we'll have there we go. All right, so we're going to have our book on one side. We'll just change it to double. There we go. Our book on one side, and then we're going to have our activity over here on the other side. Okay. All right, so here is our activity. It says a conclusion is a smart blank. That's going to be guess. A conclusion is a smart guess that can be made by thinking about story details and putting them together. Right? So here's our question. Why does Mrs. Brown call the police and mention seeing a moose? Why does Mrs. Brown call the police and mention seeing a moose? When we answer that, we're going to answer it down here because that's our conclusion. We're going to draw a conclusion. Why do we think Mrs. Brown called the police and mentioned seeing a moose? Well, let's put some details. What do we know? What has happened here? It says a moment later, Mrs. Brown came back to the window and the pie was gone. And she's upset. She was so upset that she called the police. All right, so let's put here in our first detail, the pie was gone. Okay. What else do we know? It says that she saw a moose, right? She saw Cardigan near her pie. So the pie was gone. She saw Cardigan near her pie earlier, and it tells us that she was upset. Okay, so let's put these clues together. She's upset. Her pie is gone. It's missing. She saw Cardigan near her pie. And you know what? Does she know Cardigan? What do we learn on this page? It says Cardigan was new in town and they weren't sure what he was up to. So there's even another clue. She doesn't know him, so she wasn't even sure why he was over there near her pie. So what conclusion can we come to? Well, since she called the police and her pie was gone and she's upset and she saw Cardigan, a moose, near her pie, I can draw the conclusion that she probably thinks Cardigan stole her pie. Right? I put together the clues, like puzzle pieces, to come up with the big picture. Why does Mrs. Brown call the police and mention seeing a moose? She calls them because she thinks that Cardigan the moose stole her pie, and she's upset about it. Right? We draw a conclusion. Or what I would like for you to do next is you are going to go to Think Central. Remember to do that, you're going to go in your Clever, click on the button that says Think Central, and log in. Your password is Grady with a capital G, 665, exclamation point. Now, when you click Login, when you click Think Central and Clever, it's going to open a little button that's going to open a window, and it has your username and password already typed in. And then it has a little button that says Go to Think Central. So if you've already signed in before, which I think almost everybody has, if you've already signed into Think Central, you don't have to put that username and password in again. You just click Go to Think Central, and it's going to take you there. Okay? You may have to click it 2 times. And once you get to Think Central, you're going to go to your Things to Do. Right? And I can show you that pretty quick. I'm going to log in as one of the students. All right, so when you get to Think Central, you're going to log into your Things to Do. Well, you won't have to go to your Things to Do. You're going to go to your library here. Click on your library, and then you're going to see Student eBook. Where you have Student eBook, you can open it and read your book. You'll click on Book 1, and it'll open up there. You're going to use your contents, go to Lesson 2, Trial of Cardigan Jones, and it'll take you right there. Okay? Actually, you know what? I will probably just put it in your Things to Do for you. That might be a little bit easier. All right, so when you go to Think Central, go to your Things to Do. And then you are going to do another one of these questions, but on your own. I will leave this one as an example. I'll leave it in your Google Slides. And then on the next Google slide, you're going to answer this question number 2. How do you think Cardigan broke Mrs. Brown's vase? So your actual answer will go down here with your conclusion. How do you think he broke the vase? And then you're going to give me 3 details, 3 things that happened in the story that helped you figure out how Cardigan broke Mrs. Brown's vase. All right? Okay, guys, I'm looking forward to reading those from you. Have a good day, and don't forget to send me your questions on Flipgrid if you have a question about something.